ThunderCats Roar is an awful show. I'm pretty sure we know that already. But, as any cartoon arc apologist will tell you, all of CN's latest shows all get better with time. So, just this once, like going back to an abusive ex, or trying to watch Disney XD after 2017, I'll humor them, and see just how bad episodes 2 and 3 of ThunderCats Roar really are. With its disastrous plot setup out of the way, can this show lift itself up out of the creative grave? Or will the second week of episodes be just as bad as the first? Either way, this is gonna be a ride. I don't think I need to really reintroduce the concept of ThunderCats Roar. It's the worst, most annoying, most conceptually vapid show the network's come out with since Teen Titans Go. And when Cartoon Arc finally took the wraps off of that steaming pile of garbage, as we were expecting it to be, we, rightly, railed on it with a fury not seen since Teen Titans Go came out. Or at least Cartoon Arc's Christmas Week 2017 schedule, whichever you feel is more hated. For someone like me, who has no experience with the ThunderCats franchise, it was an atrocious introduction to the characters. For those who have had experience with the concept before, many said Roar was a disgrace to the whole idea. I already tore the show's first episode apart in excruciating detail in a previous video, linked down in the description, so I won't re-explore all of that here. But stranger things have happened with Cartoon Arc shows before. A few months ago, I reviewed Power Players, technically a foreign co-production, and I noted that the show's premise establishment was ropey, but things improved once the show was able to slide into more of an episodic rhythm, when the characters got the chance to play off each other after being already established. But there were two differences between that show and this one. Power Players was actually a tolerable watch, and Power Players actually established their characters as characters, rather than using them as hollow conduits for ingratiating irks and failed attempts at heavily air-quoted comedy. I have low hopes for ThunderCats Roar improving as a show. Heck, I don't think I should have even used those two terms in the same sentence just now. But I've already been through the pain of watching this show before, so it certainly couldn't get any worse, right? Let's see if this week's new episodes of ThunderCats Roar are just as bad as the last ones. Episode 2 is titled The Legend of Boggy Ben, and this is also the first time we get to see the show's theme song, as they didn't have it in the first episode. The fact that this intro starts with a likely fully unironic "yeah" should say everything. The open effectively fast forwards through the entire opening episode in 20 seconds, and honestly, I would rather we had that as the introduction to the whole show, rather than the 20 painful minutes we actually got. The out-of-place sound effects return as we see Lionel waiting for something. Why was this beautifully fluid piece of animation wasted on this show? After 30 whole seconds of stalling for time, they finally get to some semblance of a point. It's snack time! Or more specifically, but Lion-O can't get the jar open. I mean, he really looks like he could, but he can't get the jar open. We then proceed to watch him try to open this jar for another 30 whole seconds. In that 30 seconds, perennial straight guy Tigra does stick in that he should just ask for one of the other cats to help, but Lion-O is stubbornly insistent. So at least something, theoretically, has been gotten out of this. But to clarify, we're about 90 seconds into this 11-minute episode, and what we've established so far is it's snack time, but Lion-O can't open the jar. I literally explained that in 5 seconds. This story pacing is only a step or two up from watching paint dry, and honestly, if I were to waste 11 minutes of my time, I'd feel more fulfilled doing that. But for now, we join Lion-O in the middle of a mental breakdown, already in progress. Man, Steven Universe Future is looking good, isn't it? Tiger insists again that he should just ask for help, which is what we would have already blown past on any other show, but Chitara humors his ego, and Lion-O picks up to that instead. She tells the tale of a potion that will help Lion-O to open jars, and the two end up going on a quest to defeat the episode eponymous creature to try and get it. Again, this cat is trying to open a jar. I'm already so done with this show, but there's still 9 more minutes left in this episode. Lionel and Chitara head off on a musical jaunt of hubris and idiocy, and before we spend most of this episode following their antics, we're reminded that we have to eventually set up a side plot, which consists of the kids bothering Panther about a secret invention he's working on. Wily Kit and Wily Cat manage to not be annoying for once in their brief lives on this show, which is an improvement I'm reluctant to even give Roar credit for. Back to stroking Lionel's ego, and they finally get to where this jar is supposed to be. Chitara gets caught by a tentacle and dragged into the gunk, and if you think you've seen enough to know where this is going, no you don't. Their attempt to create some kind of tension is ruined by both Lionel being completely unsubtle on his way in, but also before that, this attempt at creating a running joke. Yes, this is what they decide to pick for their running punchline this episode. At least the burbles were actually funny the first time you saw them, if never again. But this is appallingly poor. This isn't even a gag, it's just a statement. Lionel mentions not wanting thing to happen again, thing happens again. Please clap. Surprise! Chitara's in a cage! But they wasted all the suspense they were building already. It doesn't matter anyway because it was all just a setup, trying to teach Lionel that lesson from earlier. But oh wait, there is a monster that exactly fits Chitara's description from earlier. I've seen this done so much better before. This is just a blatant copy and paste of a series of tropes. They've tried to slap them together into a coherent episode, but it just doesn't work. But hey, maybe they'll show their stuff and defeat this monster, right? Nope, they're still as incompetent as heroes as they always have been. These cats have almost zero instincts in battle, and the monster makes light work of defeating all of them. Tiger and Chitara try to shove the moral in again and convince Lionel to call for help, which is visually interpreted as sending out a cat signal. Ignoring the fact that light cannot break through a wall, nor can it travel through an implied lengthy distance and be just as bright as it was at the source, or visible in the daytime at all, the kids and Panther arrive on the scene, crashing through the side of the wall for their entrance. The crash sends the whole building crumbling, which crushes Boggy Ben and frees the other 3 cats. Once again, if it were not for sheer coincidence, these ThunderCats would have been dead. Boggy Ben rises again and the whole team is on the attack. They actually managed to be competent this time, which is surprising, even though it really shouldn't be. Like, on any other show, this would be a given, but on this crapsack of a cartoon, that's actually some semblance of an odds-beating achievement. So after all that, what about those cookies anyway? Certainly, inquiring minds are dying to know. This idiot drops the jar and it smashes onto the ground. You couldn't even get holding a jar right anymore. We are watching Lionel's skill set actively regress. But that's okay, none of this really matters. Not the jar, not the legend, not the monster, because Panthero's secret invention was a cookie blaster this whole time. Yay? Once again, everything is too convenient for there to be any drama or stakes involved. The depth of this plot is flatter than the landscape of Middle America. This episode was literally 11 of the most useless minutes of television I've seen in a while. True, there was a moral in there, but the execution of it is so blatant and ham-fisted, it would only work if this were aimed at a preschool audience. They literally spent 11 minutes trying to open a jar. Come on! Atomic Puppet literally did this exact idea way better a few years ago. And honestly, I insist you watch it to learn how something like this can actually be done. It's episode 2B, Big Pickle. I would like to see them tackle an episode plot bigger than opening a jar, but the title of episode 3 of ThunderCats Roar, Prank Call, does nothing to suggest they'll do that. What's this gonna be? 11 minutes of trying to dial a phone number? The episode starts with Lionel trying to get a TV to work. While they break all pretense of being warrior cats from another planet, easy because they have no real character structure, we're introduced to this episode's attempt at a running gag, an instruction manual. It's not even a concept anymore, just a thing now. This show is just actively getting worse. Before Tigra can get the only true pleasure he'll experience in his life,
yeah, check out the schematics. Ooh.
Lion-O manages to get the TV to work, and the show they're watching is, fittingly enough, just as bad as the show they're on. This implores the two kittens to explore outside, a Marin parent's sweetest dream, but not before they're saddled with Lion-O as a chaperone. The kids describe that as basically Tigra, which would be correct, so Lion-O sets out to prove that he can be a cool chaperone. Cue montage of them doing exciting things and the kittens being won over on the concept. They eventually stumble upon a mysterious cavern, and Wily Kit and Wily Cat prey on Lion-O's worst tendencies to get them inside. Once in there, they discover a mysterious crystal, and the kids eventually figure out they can use it to prank call Mum-Ra. They proceed to do so, and even Lion-O gets in on it. However, Mum-Ra literally sees through the ruse and captures the two kids, as our villain then proceeds to confront Lion-O and Snarf. Yeah, he's here too. He's done almost nothing this episode. Over the crystal, which will soon give him his power back. Lion-O is literally defeated here, at least at first, by the fact that Mum-Ra is hovering. Disregard the existence of jumping, or the fact that Lion-O has jumped in previous episodes, including the last one. The other Thundercats are pulled into this by the situation literally coming up on their radar. But first, Mum-Ra gives an accurate account of the situation.
Foolish boy, I thought you'd stop by. Too bad I'm way up here and you're dumb.
You can say that again. Snarf, a really convenient plot device and nothing else, activates a sudden jetpack function, which helps Lion-O bring the fight up to Mum-Ra. But it's no use, as apparently he's powerful enough that his pecs can take a sword without a sweat. The other cats arrive, but their bickering over why Lion-O's here leads to Mum-Ra using his new powers to turn them into stone, rendering them useless. It's not as if they would have helped here anyway. Lion-O and Snarf are dealt with by getting thrown into the crystal, where they're reunited with the kittens. Every speaking character in the following scene is rendered as melodramatic, helpless idiots, until they realize there's a manual here. That'll get them out. No one has to face any hardship or consequences whatsoever. Everything on this show is coincidental or convenient, and the Thundercats' success is predicated on this, rather than any skills or experience the actual characters may have, unless you count the implied ability to read as a skill, in which case this show has sunk character competency to heinous new lows. Through this magical, powerful ability to read a book, Lion-O neutralizes the crystal, frees his teammates, and, after a competent battle, defeats Mum-Ra. Lion-O sort of learns a lesson to not be an enabler to look cool, but not really, and then the Thundercats fly off, ready to wreak havoc another day. This is actually the closest the show has gotten to an actually well-constructed plot, to be entirely fair to them, but the execution of the concept hurts the cause. The problem with this episode is that despite the story, the characters are bland at their absolute best. Chances are you'll find reason to dislike one of the main characters, but you just so happen to be saved from being outright annoyed by their presence this time. The fact that these characters aren't really characterized and have vague personalities really hurts this show, along with the fact that they are portrayed as imbecilic adults who can't win their own battles. Watching dumb people do dumb things can get annoying, especially with the way that Roar has done it. It doesn't help that the characters don't really develop any during the episodes, nor do we get any further exposition into them to make up for the lack of it in the first episode. The Thundercats are simply ambiguous conduits for ridiculous, incomprehensible, or infantile plots, depending on the day, with their only noble character traits being their incompetence or their ability to grate at the viewer. These two episodes do nothing to improve ThunderCats Roar. Instead, they take the worst parts of the show so far and put them into stark relief, and act like these are things that should motivate you to watch the show. The characters have no redeeming qualities, and few qualities at all in general. The story, in turn, is too weakly built to make up for that or redeem them. Therefore, the end result is 11 minutes of wasted animation where nothing really happens. I would call this the cartoon equivalent of tofu, but that's practically insulting to tofu. If this show were any more of a waste of time or money, Netflix would have bankrolled it, and sometimes even they can get things right. ThunderCats Roar has simply reinforced itself as the worst show on kids' TV, a black hole of creativity darker and more hopeless than a Sunday premiere time slot. This is certainly a show that did not get better once it could switch to episodic stories. In fact, the problems it didn't tread on before doing that continue to hurt it now. If you want to see what exactly went wrong with ThunderCats Roar, go check out my video on the show's first episodes, right here or down in the description. And if you liked this, remember to hit subscribe so you can check out more from the world of television every single week. I'm Benzie Johnson Jr., I'm enthusiastic about television, and I'll see you next time.